Hello and good evening. I hope all of you enjoyed the weekend. And yeah, today you're full of power on this Monday here for our lecture today. And yeah, for all of you, you've already been 2 weeks ago at the Prime Aligner Summit in Como. So we had a very interesting summary of the most important innovations and features of all new aligner software tools. And we received a lot of feedback regarding this topic, and we received a lot of questions. And yeah, most of the doctors were asking, can we talk a little bit more about these features, about what are the newest innovations in the different software? And let's try to dive a little bit deeper. So what we are doing today, so again, I will give you a very interesting summary of the innovations, so we can also compare a little bit the different systems. And on the other hand, we will talk about how to use these different software tools and how can we use it with different software, like an interactive live aligner case review. We will do it for Invisalign, for Angel Aligner, and for Spark. And as you already know, so we do treatment planning for all these different systems. And we realized that for every systems, there are pros and cons. There are different ideas of, yeah, what you can do. And we will also give you today an idea what are our favorite tools and how we personally use them. And please, if there are any questions, so we are a small group today, please let me know anytime during the presentation if you would like to know a little bit more, if I should go a little bit deeper to give you some more information. And yes, I'm really looking forward to this session for today. So we have realized that every patient is unique, and so is their treatment journey. So it's our responsibility to ensure that the plan we choose will lead to the best possible results. This means focusing on precision, patient-specific needs, and long-term stability. For us, it's no matter what system you're working with, the goal is always the same: a perfect plan that guarantees the perfect outcome. So this should always be the goal for digital treatment planning. Yeah, the question is, which system fits perfectly to my expectations? Which system makes most sense? And is there a difference between the systems? That's very, very often the big question. Yeah, we have a different performance. We have different system expectations. And for every system, we have different functionalities and different tools. And everything comes together when it comes to digital treatment planning. As we all know, we have for Invisalign 0.25 millimeter translational movement, 0.25 millimeter intrusion, extrusion, 2 degrees of rotation, 1 degree of torque. You can see that for Angel Aligner, there is a difference between the normal Angel Aligner system and Angel Aligner Pro. On the left side, you can see the normal Angel Aligner system with 0.26 millimeter translational movements, 0.15 millimeter extrusion, 0.2 millimeter of intrusion, and 1.8 degree as a maximum of rotation and torque. When it comes to Angel Aligner Pro, there is a little difference. So for Pro, we have two materials. We start with a soft material, and after 3 days, we continue with a harder material. So we also have different movement patterns. It's 0.33 millimeter of translational movement, 0.15 of extrusion, 0.23 of intrusion, and 2.5 degree of rotation. For Spark, it's kind of similar to Invisalign. We have a little bit more torque, so that means mesial distal root torque and also palatal root torque. But now, in the next slide, it really becomes much more interesting, because what we can see is that for the different systems, we also have different ideas of all the different staging patterns. Invisalign, at this moment, they changed the retrocline pattern protocol to a two-step protocol. That means we have proclination, and then we combine intrusion and retraction. For Angel Aligner, we have three steps. For Angel Aligner, it's called PIR protocol, protrusion, intrusion, retraction. For Spark, it's exactly the same. So we all know how this protocol looks like, and we can see that there are no big differences. But even for Invisalign, sometimes we change this protocol to a pattern with three different steps. I will show that later in the digital treatment plans. When it comes to distalization, we all know that we have the semi-sequential distalization, 33% for Invisalign. That's the default protocol from Invisalign. So we change that always to the 50% distalization. For Angel Aligner, it's called differently. They call it A8 distalization. Molars and premolars are more moved in sequences. And I've prepared a lot of treatments today to show you exactly how these protocols look like. So just give me 1 second, so then I can open the demonstration for you and I show you there's just a slightly little difference in the distalization protocol from Angel Aligner. And I will show you exactly what is the difference here. And it's not only the sequences, it is also that we have different types of attachments here. So here you can see this is the A8 distalization case from Angel. So if you have a look, you can see, if we go to the staging, you can see that we first start with the molars. Now we move a little bit the premolars together, and only after the distalization of the premolars, we start with the retraction of all the anteriors, which is a nice protocol. We have a very nice anchorage. We have a very good staging here. But there is something that we need to think about. You can also see that for Angel Aligner, we have different types of attachments. So for Angel, if you don't ask for something special, you will always see that we have vertical rectangular attachments in the area of 4 and 5. In most of the cases, if you don't ask for it specifically, we don't have any attachments on the first molar. So there is no attachment at all. So the software only gives an attachment to the 7 to allow the bodily distalization in a better way. So this is what the software from Angel is doing automatically. And this is important for you to understand. You can always ask for something different. This is only the defaults, let's say the best practice protocol that you will get from the software-wise, but you can change it. You can do whatever you want, but yeah, this is how Angel is doing it. For Spark, you can also see that we have the normal semi-sequential distalization. So for the Spark cases, and that's very interesting, for 90% of the distalization cases, we do not need to do any changes. So this is for us very helpful. We like a lot the treatment planning process in terms of distalization with the Spark cases because we don't necessarily need to do so many changes in the treatment software. Yes, so what else is different in the different software? What else we can see is that for Invisalign, if we have a class 2 division 2, for any case, automatically we got an aesthetic start. The same is for Angel Aligner. But for Angel Aligner, the aesthetic start also comes automatically only if there is enough space for the proclination of upper anteriors. For Invisalign, we can see more that the technician automatically is doing a little bit of expansion in the canine area to allow this movement. For Spark, it's after recrest. Now we're talking about the frog staging intrusion. And the frog staging intrusion for Invisalign only after request. Normally, we don't receive a frog staging intrusion, so we need to ask for it. If we ask for it, no problem, we receive it. For angel aligner, the frog staging intrusion only above the activation of the threshold. So what does it mean? The frog staging intrusion is activated if we have an intrusion more than, I think it's 0.5 or 0.6 millimeter. And if we have this amount of intrusion for angel, we automatically receive the frog staging intrusion. For Spark, this is already automated in the system. Mandibular advancement. We all know the mandibular advancement from Invisalign. The mandibular advancement pattern from Invisalign is a little bit different from what we see with angel aligner. And I will give you now an idea of they call it A6 mandibular advancement. I will show you a demo case. And you can see that for angel align, the mandibular advancement features, they are different from what we can see with Invisalign because they are occlusal and not surfaces. I will show it to you now. You can see that here. So this is how it looks like with angel aligner. So you have these type of occlusal mandibular advancement features. And the interesting thing is, or the differences, what angel aligner says is that you don't necessarily need a pre-MA phase. So you can see that we can do the expansion for the whole time during we use the occlusal mandibular advancement. So we can use it from the beginning till the end. And you don't necessarily need a pre-MA phase. But what we can see, or what we personally do, is that if we have retroclined upper anteriors and there is no space at all, we still use the pre-MA phase. We still do the proclination of upper anteriors first to really create space. And this is what I would like to explain. It doesn't matter which type of software you use. We can program it very individually. And for angel aligner, for most of the cases, we still use the pre-MA phase. For expansion, we don't necessarily need to use it, but when if we have very retroclined upper anteriors, we necessarily need to use it, to make these movements a little bit more predictable. And to also allow the lower arch to really move forward. So the earlier we have space for the lower arch, then better it is. The A6 mandibular advancement for angel aligner, it's a dynamic jump. You can see it step by step. As you know, for Invisalign, it's every 8 aligners, and you should do the aligner changing every week. It's 2 millimeters. For Spark, as we know, until now, it is not available. The roots always displayed. This, for me, was one of the most beautiful features from Spark. It's very beautiful that for every case, always we have displayed the roots. At this moment, this is not available for Invisalign. It's also available for angel aligner. So the roots are always displayed, and that helps us a lot in the digital treatment planning process. Because if we can see the roots from the beginning to the end, even if you know these, I'm not talking about CBCT integration. I'm just talking about that the roots are displayed, and that it's much easier for us to see critical movements. Yeah, and we all know that CBCT integration now for all systems is possible. And there are some very nice and interesting features I will show you in the software later on. I've prepared some very nice cases for you. Yeah, let's talk about Invisalign first. Let's try to find out what's possible, what new features are in the software and how we use them, and if you really can use them for all your treatments. As you've seen, maybe we have a new free aligner activation for root control. So the goal is to develop a similar force system, which is less visible, with less visible attachments compared to double attachments with no negative predictability impact. The main benefit is that the patient aesthetics, is absolutely better with these type of attachments, and it's compatible with all features and product types. So the defaults are updated for cases using the Invisalign personalized plan. And you can always find them if you have these attachment-free aligner activation. You can see all these points here. And that's very interesting. So they are differently activated, but we need to understand that the aligner, the attachment-free aligner activation for root control is for mesial or distal root movement without intrusion. So we have the optimized root control with aligner activation and mesial or distal root movements with less than 0.5 millimeter of intrusion. So we have the attachment-free activation for root control. And that's interesting. Previously, we always had the double attachments for mesial, distal, root tip, and so on. And now we find these attachment-free aligner activation. But we need to be very careful because we have a little side effect sometimes, a little bit of intrusion because we have less space for the tooth. And at the moment we have less space, there is always a little tendency or a little risk that we could have, just a very little intrusion movement. Yeah. So this is at this moment, a big difference. And we don't always use these activations. So we have a lot of doctors that, let's say they try out if clinically, if it really makes sense for the clinical results. But you need to be careful because it could be that you have a little side effect of intrusion. So this is already a feedback that we received. All stages occlusal contacts. Yes, now it's available with Invisalign, and we are so lucky that now today we have this activation tool. Previously, the occlusal contacts were only visible on the initial and final stage. Now, occlusal contacts at all intermediate stages in addition to initial and final. So all stages of occlusal contacts are calculated using an average values of TMJ. Position that are based on CBCT scans of adult patients. So yeah, they just use the data and it's a calculation. And for us, it really makes sense. For example, we have a case, this is a very interesting example here. So sometimes if we only review the cases with our eyes, we can see, okay, it's, we do a little bit of derotation of the anteriors, the same in the lower anteriors. And you can see that we have a huge amount of proclination of lower anteriors. So we need to identify if it's maybe a little bit too much proclination. If it's maybe a little bit too much proclination, if we compare upper and lower anteriors. So let's double check that. What we always need to identify is what is really happening in the overjet overbite. And previously, we only had the chance to see the situation out of this position. And I can see that the proclination of tooth number 4-1 creates a hard pre-contact between 1-1 and 4-1. But now we can check it out. So this is the situation at the beginning. You can see that there is already a pre-contact, and the pre-contact is at the beginning and at the end. And now we need to double check, okay, what is happening during the treatment time? And now we can see, yes, the pre-contact is still during the whole treatment. It's getting a little bit harder, you can see. So why not doing a little bit more proclination and a little bit of IPR and lower arch to get out of this pre-contact as soon as possible? So these are just examples how we can find out to program the software in a better way, to do the movements differently. And that really, really helps us to create very predictable movements and to end up in better situations. Yeah, so we also have the occlusal clearance heat map. The occlusal clearance heat map provides an additional option of reviewing intercuspidation and incisal contacts. The software indicates the distance between micromillimeters between opposite teeth. The heat map bridges software used by iTero and shows the distances between teeth based on hinge rotation simulation. The CleanCheck software shows the heat map all stages, and the iTero shows only the initial. So this is something that I think it's a very nice new tool, and the CleanCheck software shows the negative gaps, and the iTero shows only the initial situation. The CleanCheck Live update and Invisalign first treatment integration. So there are no differences in function for CleanCheck Live update with Invisalign first treatments versus existing competitive products. So the custom staging will be erased and returned to default staging protocols of CleanCheck Live update is used after a moderate or your final tooth position as with existing products. The mandibular advancement is still not supported with the CleanCheck Live update. Yeah, so we can't use it for What else is very interesting is the CBCT cross-section plane tool. And that really helps us in the digital treatment planning process. So I've also prepared a very nice CleanCheck for you, a demo CleanCheck. I will show you how we use this tool and what is the best and easiest way and why it makes sense to use it. Just a second. So as you can see here, now we have the toolbar, and if we go to this stage, we can see here on the left side, we can see now this tool, and I will give you a different example how to use it. So if we go a little bit more in this direction here, now you can see the situation at the beginning, and you can compare it. And you can, just as an example, this is also something that I really like to use. You can just double check if the treatment planning process is planned in a perfect way. So I can see now in the upper arch, we start with the proclination. And now I can see the step 2 of the retrocline pattern protocol, the intrusion. And I can see if the intrusion is exactly in the right direction. So please have a look at the intrusion now. Yeah, it's in the right axis. And I get out of the pre-contact to the lower anteriors. So for us, it's very nice to control then this is just an example. We can also control, for example, the occlusion. So you can see that we have different ideas. If I have the coronal view and I go a little bit more to the mesial surface, I can also check exactly, okay, what about the intercuspidation? There are a lot of things that I can check out in a very, very nice way if I use this tool. And so we use it a lot. Of course, it's only available if we have the CBCT integration. So we have the additional functionality that visualizes the relative positions and movements of the relevant teeth, roots, and bone in a chosen plane. So there's an additional functionality, and it's very easy to use. It's very comfortable to use. What else is new? So we have the Invisalign treatment with mandibular advancement and continuous feature development. So the lingual attachments will be placed automatically to maintain the aligner retention. So this is also something we didn't have before. We always needed to ask for palatal and lingual additional attachments. Now in the software, we have it automatically. And this is also something very beautiful. So we can monitor for any unwanted tipping for tooth number 7585 under the precision wings that have lingual attachments, especially if the patient bites on the precision wings. That happens sometimes. So this is something, of course, you need to control. If you notice any buccal tipping, debond the lingual attachment and continue the treatment as necessary. CleanCheck live update for 3D controls, now available also for Smile Architect treatment plans. This is something also very beautiful. What we can see at the moment is that, we have all the 3D controls. We can combine it with the Smile Architect, and that really, really helps, especially for doctors that are, planning the anterior situation, also for restorations. And we also have a lot of doctors where we spend a lot of time to do a perfect treatment planning in these areas. And this is also something that we will find now in the software. Sometimes we have to recognize that we have maybe let's say a different or a wrong view at the first CleanCheck. And I will explain you another tool that we love to use a lot. So, but before I will explain you that sometimes we have a different view on our digital treatment plan. So if we have a look at this digital treatment plan from anterior, now we check the digital treatment plan. We just find out, okay, what kind of situation we have at the beginning. On the right side, we have minor class 2. Of course, we have retroclined upper anteriors. We have crowding in the lower anteriors, a lot more crowding, especially in the area of 4.2 and 4.3. So what is the software doing now? So we start with the semi-sequential distalization in the first quadrant. At the same time, we had the retrocline pattern proclination at the beginning. We combine these movements also with an aesthetic start. So we check every movement in detail, and it looks like a very nice treatment plan. But before I check the amount of distalization, before I check everything from buccal view, it's much more important to have a look out of another position. Here you can see everything from occlusal view, proclination of anteriors, a little bit of expansion of the canines at the beginning, and as I already discussed, the semi-sequential distalization in the first quadrant. But what have I overlooked? And that happens very often, that I overlook something, that I don't recognize the real problem. And if I have another look at this treatment plan, I can see that at the beginning, I had a very nice intercuspidation in the first and the fourth quadrant. I can see that the intercuspidation at the beginning was pretty perfect in the molar area, you can see. And we destroyed a little bit with the distalization. Yes, it's only a little bit, but we would make a new decision, not doing the distalization, maybe doing a little bit more out rotation to not change the nice intercuspidation in upper and lower arch. So what I would like to explain is that sometimes we have a look first from buccal view. We think we need to do distalization, but then if we really check out what happens here is that we create a huge amount of balance contact that we don't necessarily would like to have. So we need to reduce it at the end. And sometimes we check the position in a wrong view at the beginning. And that happens very often in the treatment planning process. But in this treatment plan, what else have I overlooked? So that was point number one. The distalization, yes, we wanted to get a better class 1, but not with a distal movement, maybe more with a rotation movement. But what else have I overlooked? And this is number 2. What happens in most of the treatments, maybe first I have I have a nice frog staging intrusion of upper anterior. Everything is perfect. I don't want to change anything. But if I have a look, okay, how much millimeter of intrusion do I really have? Let's check it out. So, and now I can see, wow, this is 1.8 millimeter of upper anterior intrusion. And the biggest question is, so I can think about semi-sequential movements, frog staging intrusion, retrocline pattern. I can think about everything, but if I am not doing, or if the result of the treatment plan is wrong, I don't need to think about the sequences. And this is for me very important to in the education, that very often this is a calculation of the software, and very often it's too much calculated, or we didn't explain to the software, to the AI, to the technician, what is the maximum amount of intrusion for this patient that we should have at the end. The software is always calculating something. So if I have a deep bite in total 3.5 millimeter, and we only asked for deep bite correction, very often the software is just calculating half of the deep bite correction by intrusion of upper anteriors. But the question is, does it really make sense for this patient? And please have a look at this patient. So this is the smile line at the beginning. You can see it on the left side. And we have a beautiful smile line. Of course, we have a little crowding, but now have a look what happens in reality. How does it look at the end? 1 second. And now you can see that at the end, it is too much intrusion. This 2 millimeter is too much. We need to do the deep bite correction in a different way. More intrusion of lower anteriors. This is too much, but that happens very often. So what I would like to explain is, don't check first the sequences, check first the result from every different view, if this is really 100% what you would like to achieve. If not, go back and explain exactly where you want to go. What helps us a lot, and this is also a new feature from Invisalign, so they call it in-face visualization and smile video. And this is very interesting. So you not only have the chance to create a picture, you also have a chance to see the corrected situation during the patient is talking. And so that's much better and easier for you to identify where you would like to go. So in this case, just as an example on the right side, I would do a little bit more intrusion of the laterals and less intrusion of the centrals. And you can, check everything out before with the patient in an easy way. So please scan this QR code and download this app, and you can use the app for every future case to upload the pictures, and then it's much easier in the treatment planning process for you to review the pictures and yeah, everything. Let's go to the next system, Angel Aligner. What's new? Functions and tools. We have seen that Angel Aligner, they have so many new innovations that we really like. And yeah, today I will explain you a little bit the newest functions and tools from Angel Aligner, how we use them, and yeah, what is the best way. First of all, we have the intelligent root system, or if we use the CBCT integration. So we have the CBCT integration for all cases possible. We have horizontal and vertical section view through the full 3D model. And we have the possibility to use the 3D tools and different points of rotation during the modification. So this is something that you can see now. We can change the colors, and yeah, here you can also see the section tool that we also have with Invisalign now, what we love to use. We can also, if we use the 3D tools, we can directly see the differences in the section tool. Yeah, and we have the possibility to do the reviews out of all the different positions. As you can see, you can also directly change the point of rotation. So if you only would like to show a pure protrusion, or if you like to have the center for this movement a little bit differently, it's very easy to click on and to do these movements. We have the intelligent root system with CBCT integration, as I already explained to you. Then we have the intelligent Ceph system, easy to use, fast, and one-click analysis. So we have an automated detection of the anatomical tracking points. We can editing adjust of tracing points. We can display the tracing analysis, and we have a one-click expert of the analysis data. And this is also driven by AI, and that helps us a lot to make this process very, very easy. Also for a technician, it's easy to do. So you just download the pictures. You can also see at the moment I change this situation, I do more proclination of lower anteriors, I can directly see, okay, how does the profile image change? And yes, so this is something where I need to say, wow, it's a great tool. It's perfect to use. Yeah, now we talk also about the occlusal contacts. So we have the occlusal contacts through all planned treatment steps. So this tool will now automatically adjust the upper and lower jaw, setting to 100% when the user clicks on the upper occlusal view. So we can automatically adjust the upper and lower jaw to 60% when the user clicks any full jaw icons to switch to the full view. And of course, and that's very easy here. If we talk about passive aligner, occlusal contacts, 1 second. You can choose your passive aligners before and after, maximum of 5 passive aligners for each order. And you can put it to the beginning or to the end. And a lot of doctors, they start with one passive aligner, they end up with 4 passive aligner. And again, so you can do the same for Invisalign and for Spark, but here it's very easy to do. It's just 2 clicks and that's it. A6, mandibular advancement. So we have what I explained to you at the beginning, we have a twin block design. The twin block design allows a free placement of attachments for the retention. We have the movement of all teeth also under the occlusion block. But be careful, if I have a class 2 division 2, we would also suggest to use the pre-MA phase to start with the proclination first to create some space for the lower jaw. The movement, the occlusion block can be moved in a P direction. We have an individual staging and jump, and we don't necessarily need a pre-MA phase, but you can ask for it. And again, for some cases, for us, it makes more sense to start with the proclination of upper anteriors to gain space before we start with it. You can also see it again on the video. Expansion. During the expansion, you can already see the twin block design. You can already see the occlusal twin block and the movement. Yeah, just from the beginning, giving the power for the proclination of the lower arch. Yeah, you can also see it out of this position here. Angel Aligner Pro. As we all know, we have also seen it at the beginning that we have different velocity protocols. And for Angel Aligner Pro, we have a little bit more movement for one aligner, but we need to understand that we have 2 aligners for each step. So we start in the first 7 days with the standard aligner, which is the MCS. And after that, we go from standard to the more stiff material, which is called MC. We use it for the next 3 days. So we have 10 days in total. And yeah, so this is the dynamic that we find here. Angel Aligner Kit, treatments for primary and mixed dentition. So myofunctional features, as you can see, we have the spikes, we have the tongue guide elements in lower jaw, we have the eruption guide, we have the Angel Aligner Kit attachments, we have an individual trim line, which is also very interesting. And as I already explained to you, we have the A6 mandibular advancement. And yeah, so this is really a lot what we can use, especially a lot of doctors now, they're starting to use these kind of spikes for anterior open bite to not allow, again, the tongue anymore to give this pressure to the upper anteriors. So these are very, very nice features, very nice myofunctional features. We also have the Angel Hook. The Angel Hook are now available for maxillary protraction, and you can choose the protraction solution when filling out the prescription to use the Angel hooks in the plan. So these solid hooks are integrated into the aligners to allow the use of aligners in combination with extraoral appliances. And yeah, as you can see here, just as an example, Angel hook for special class 3 treatments. And yeah, you can see that we can choose a different trim line. So we have the aesthetic trim line that follows the gingiva margin. We have the extended trim line, which is 2.5 millimeter extension below the gingiva margin. And we can also choose the hybrid trim line, extended only in posterior area for greater anchorage. Some doctors, even especially if we have a huge amount of retraction palatal root torque of upper anteriors, they like to use the extended trim line. So they have the extension below the gingiva margin to have more anchorage for this retraction movement. Some doctors like the hybrid trim line, so they have more anchorage in the posterior area, but they still have the aesthetic trim line in the anteriors. As we can see with Straumann ClearCorrect, so Straumann, they use always the extended trim line. Because of that, they use less attachments, but I would be a little bit careful. We always need attachments on upper laterals, especially if we have the extended trim line, because very often otherwise we have too much compression force. Sometimes that ends up in intrusion of the laterals. And here we need to be very careful. Yes, as we all know, with Angel, we have the Angel button. It's an integrated structure. It's an integrated structure in the aligner. And it's a flexible 360-degree placement of elastics. It's a precise AI positioning. So you can see in the lower picture here that in different areas of the aligner, we have a different stiffness of the aligner. And if we place an Angel button in these areas, sometimes it is too close to the gingiva, or if it is a little bit in a wrong area, we don't have the stiffness. And you can see it in this little video here that, or maybe better, I can show it you in a bigger video here. It's easier to see. And that's very interesting. So you can see if we use the Angel button, the software shows us from the beginning in which areas it is possible to place an Angel button. Buccally and also lingually palatal. So there are a lot of possibilities. And I can also explain to the technician, just as an example, I would love to have the Angel button. This is what we do sometimes. Let's think about you would like to correct the midline. And at the end of the treatment, you would like to give a little bit more pressure to the midline correction. You can place an Angel button from 1.3 to 3.3 only for stage 30 to 40, just to give an option at the end if you would like maybe to correct a little bit more or give a little bit more pressure for this correction force. This is very interesting for us. Why? Because especially for the Angel button, you don't necessarily need to place a button, just in case you can use it. And yeah, this is very lovely. And if you can also remove it if you don't necessarily need this button. And yeah, this is also very helpful for the digital treatment planning process. The Angel button can be planned approximately so that the buccal surface is free for attachments. We have maximum contact surface to the tooth as no contact surface is lost. It's a material independent placement of buttons. It's a different force application and distribution between Angel buttoned and bonded buttons. We have flexible staging of the button, and in case of loss, the next aligner has a new button and less emergency appointments. We have the bite turbos. It's also interesting. They assist in anterior tooth intrusion, bite opening, also known as bite ramps, available on incisors and canines, can be requested to be dynamic or static. This is something we also know from Invisalign. So we have dynamic or static bite ramps. So what does it mean? At the moment we correct the deep bite, the bite ramp is also changing the position to always have the same disclusion in the posterior area. We have these bite turbos. We have the curved turbos. So that means they actively advanced in the mandibular in small amounts, less than 3 millimeters, while opening the bite. So this is interesting because it also serves to maintain the mandibular position after mandibular advancement. They are available for incisors, progressive and also dynamic. We have the occlusal pad that assists in crossbite and deep bite correction, also known as bite turbo. We have also a special bite turbo for Spark, and we have the occlusal attachments for Invisalign. So, you know, it's a different in the systems, and yeah, you can decide. We have the iSmile Maker. an advanced smile simulation tool that instantly transforms selfies by simulating a new smile. Can be used in the digital marketing campaigns, inside practice, posters or stands during the treatment and so on. Yeah, this is also something you can use. Let's talk about Spark. So what's new with Spark functions and tools? And we love the posterior bite turbos from Spark. They have a high statics. They are easy to position by the technician. You can position them with the 3D tools. You can also ask the technician to position them. So what is so special on the Spark posterior bite turbos is that the technician is able to change the height of the bite turbos. So just as an example, if I have a special case, like if I have a case with a functional situation where I need to keep the position and to keep the position of upper and lower jaw in a perfect situation, we can combine the anterior bite rams with the posterior bite turbos, and even the deep bite or there is a change. The technician can also adjust in a perfect way the posterior bite turbos. We have the dynamic bite ramps. It's very similar to what we have seen with Angel. The dynamic bite ramps adjusted their position automatically to the antagonists. But what is the big difference and what makes it unique for Spark? They are available upper and lower arch from 5 to 5, not only from 3 to 3. And that helps us very often because in a lot of cases, if the overjet is too huge, we are not really able to use the bite ramps. We are not able to use the bite ramps. And then, for example, for Invisalign, we always need to place occlusal attachments in the area of 4 and 5. And for Spark, and that's really nice, so we have the dynamic bite ramps also in the area of 4 and 5, which helps us a lot if the overjet is too huge. Positioning by default in the center of the tooth crown and scalable. Yeah, so what I really love with Spark cases, so as you can see, we have different types of attachments. We have the yin-yang attachment that can we use labial, mesial, distal, incisal, and gingival. Of course, we have the rectangular attachment, 2 to 6 millimeters, labial-lingual, occlusal, horizontal, vertical. We have the beveled attachments, 2 to 5 millimeters, also labial-lingual, occlusal, mesial, distal, incisal, and gingival. And the same is for ellipsoid and also for sash. We have the integrated hook. We have also seen a kind of integrated hook for Angel and a 360-degree hook from Angel. The integrated hook is a little bit different because it's always combined with an attachment. So we have a perfect anchorage. Why is it so beautiful with Spark? Because if we do treatment planning with Spark, we don't need to change any attachments for 90% of the cases. So they are calculated by the software in a perfect way. We don't have optimized attachment. These are all passive attachments. But we see that we also don't have too many micro movements, too many minor root up, root riding movements, rotations, and so on. This is really easier with Spark. So for most of the Spark cases, we don't need to change attachments at all. Of course, in the clinical preferences, from the beginning, we can also discuss, okay, we would like to have horizontal rectangular attachments on the upper laterals, which we always like to have just to keep them safe. But very often we don't need to change attachments for the Spark treatments, which is really makes the treatment process very easy. True roots. In the Approver software, you can view individual library roots for each case. You can replace the library roots with the real CBCT roots in the Approver. And Of course, form, size, and position mirror the actual roots based on the CBCT. So as we all know, also for Spark, we have the chance for CBCT integration. But what's very interesting, what I need to say is, when we started using the Spark software, it's, I don't know, 3 years ago, something like that, for us, it was so helpful that we could see the root in any case. And I will give you just an example why that is so helpful to us. So here you can find an interesting Spark case. And normally we know that we check a case like this. So 1 second. So we have the beginning, and now we press on play. We see, oh, I have a semi-sequential distalization 50%, starting with the 7, continue with the 6, continue with the 5, and so on. So I have the semi-sequential movement, I have the retrocline pattern, I have an aesthetic start of the anteriors. Everything looks nice and looks fine. And it's the same that we have previously also for the Invisalign cases. We have a look at this case and everything looks easy and nice. But now, if I, because we are doing a lot of treatments, I can see directly that there is a mistake. It's too much palatal root torque of upper anteriors and too much distal root torque of the 7. But only if I see the roots, it's easy for me to identify. So now I can see, oh, wow, so much palatal root torque of the anteriors at the beginning. So much distal root torque of 1.7 at the beginning. So this is huge too much. I necessarily need to change it. And I always like to show it how easy it is, especially with Spark. You just reduce this movement like this. Now you can see the case again. Okay, I don't have this huge amount of distal root torque again, but for the anteriors, of course, I need to communicate it. There is no way to use the 3D tools to, because I have the 3 different types of movement in the retrocline pattern: proclination, intrusion, retraction. And if I have a situation of anteriors like this, I necessarily need to change that. Yes, then what you can see here on the left side, CBCT integration available for all Spark products to increase control and flexibility. Of course, for Spark Advanced, Spark 20, Spark 10, for all these different cases. Then the clipping level is available in 3 different views, and that's really helpful. So axial, coronal, and also mesial distal. And I have the 3 preset views: skin, translucent, skin and bone, and the soft tissue. And this is very nice. And yeah, it's very nice for us as a treatment planner to work with the CBCT integration for Spark. SmartSTL technology. What is it? And this is a revolution. This is a revolution. So the beauty is here that you only need to do a scanning at the beginning. So you have the STL data. And if you have a patient using dental monitoring, you have the SmartSTL, and it's simply an efficient way to generate a 3 model of your patient without a visit to the practice. So what does it mean? Let's say you are at stage 25 from 50. The patient comes to your, the patient is doing the dental monitoring scan, and now the patient recognizes, oh, there is no perfect fitting anymore. You can use this dental monitoring scan to create a SmartSTL, because the calculation is adapting to your first scan, to your first STL, and you can create a new STL just with the dental monitoring scan of the patient. Wow, that really helps. And we have a lot of doctors, they are already using this SmartSTL technology. It's only possible using the Spark approval, And yeah, so with Spark, that's very easy. And you know exactly, okay, now I have a new SmartSTL data, and you can order the refinement, approver, and doing all the changes in the approver. You can order the new aligners, and you can deliver the aligners wherever the patient is. Wow, this is a revolution. Yeah, this is something that I already explained at the beginning, but I again would like to explain. Now you can see what we have discussed at the beginning. With ClearCorrect, we have more movements because the aligner goes over the gingiva, but the big question is always, what does it make with the anchorage? So we do the same movement patterns for ClearCorrect, like maximum of 0.25. And again, as I explained to you, for Angel, the Angel Select, it's a different from Angel Select to Angel Pro. This is also important for you to understand. You can see that for Angel Pro, we do more movements. We do the movements a little bit faster because we have the two different aligners. Here, I will give you another example of how we use the occlusal attachments. So now, because at this moment, we don't have the occlusal pads, we use the double attachments here. It's the same effect. All the doctors, they're using it, they say, okay, they have also very nice stability. We like the occlusal pads from Spark most because they are very strong and the technician can change a little bit. Right? And yes, the occlusal pad for Angel Aligner, just for you to show these differences. Even here, for all the different, we have the same situation. We have for Invisalign, double attachments for Spark, and also for Angel Align. So they all use the same system, and that shows us, okay, that makes sense. You know, if they all use the same situation, the same attachments for uprighting, typical molars, it should make sense. And sorry, for the power arms, Invisalign, you can directly ask for the power arms. So that means that that you have kind of you have an attachment that goes very close to the gingiva, then it's opened, and you can just bond the power arms, placing the attachment. And for Spark and for Angel, we just use horizontal rectangular attachment, and we put it a little bit more to the gingiva. Or some of the doctors, they just use a button cutout, and then they place the power arms. Yes, so I think that's the news about the different systems. But now I would really love to answer all your questions. So if there are any questions regarding the different systems and how to use them, or maybe you have a question, what is the system that we love most? Or I don't know, whatever your question is, please let me know, write it in the Q&A, and I would love to answer your questions. So any questions? And yeah, I've also asked, I sent out an email to all the doctors. So every 2 weeks, we have our webinar with doctors. The next one will be in 2 weeks, the beginning of November, together with David Rajkovic. We will talk about very young patients, Invisalign first, what to do, how to treat them. And even before these webinars, you have anything you would like to discuss, you would like to see, please let me know. I would love to answer it. And if there are no more questions, I would like to say thank you for your time. And I'm very much looking forward to see you soon. I don't know if we maybe see each other at the DGAO or at the Growth Summit in Italy. And yeah, I wish you a beautiful rest of the day. Thank you so much.